literally one of the funniest shows on TV, right? Do we have the camera up yet? One of my prized possessions, by the way. So now we're going to introduce the cast and producers of Parks and Recreation. So first up, one of the producers, he played editor number 4 in the movie Run, Ronnie, Run. But more importantly, he directed episodes including Little Sebastian and The Trial of Leslie Knope. It's producer and director Dean Holland. All right, next up, according to IMDb, he played bar patron on The Office, but more importantly, he wrote this year's season opener, as well as Lil Sebastian and Campaign Shakeup and a lot more. It's executive producer and writer Dan Gore. So next up, he's a fan of the Comic Sans font. He vacations in Muncie. He likes to paint erotic portraits that look strangely like his colleagues. And of course, he's a big fan of the Jurassic Fork, and apparently he's also a sex symbol to a lot of you tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's Pawnee's oldest 16-year-old. It's Jerry Gergich, Jim O'Hare. Jerry. So next up, as we mentioned earlier, she enjoys treating herself to some fine leather goods. She also enjoys lusting after Robert Pattinson, and interestingly, as we found out last week, she's the cousin of 90s R&B star Genuine. It's Donna Meagle, it's Retta. So next up, you know him as Dwight Schute's odd cousin Mose on The Office, but he also played male teacher on Misguided and Paul on The OC. He's, of course, the co-creator and executive producer of Parks and Recreation. It is Mike Schur. Okay, so next up, he plays Andy Dwyer, the awesome sauce husband of April, and the lead of Mouse Rat, the band formerly known as Scarecrow Boat, formerly known as Malice in Chains, formerly known as Taint Champion, formerly known as Lance Armstrong's Uniball, formerly known as Ape Syphilis, and formerly known as Sweatpants Boner, and you get the idea. It's Chris Pratt. And a few other stars have made an appearance as well. And so finally, Chris, I might get you in a little trouble. So finally, she saved the Pawnee Harvest Festival. She was almost born in Pawnee, not quite, but is a proud lifelong resident. She's endorsed by Pistol Pete and the outgoing police chief, Hugh Tremple. She's your next member of the Pawnee City Council. It's Leslie Knope, also known as Amy Poehler. Let's get a Knope 2012! Knope 2012! Knope 2012!
Thank you, sir. I know, right?
So I'm only going to be addressing the cardboard cutouts, actually, if that's okay.
Yeah. That's how we like it.
So,
The best it that way.
Oh,
Right on in the front.
I like him here.
I like you guys have all kind of like paired up with your favorites. Poor Chris at the end. So,
God damn it, he's handsome though, isn't he?
Look how handsome Rob is, and he isn't even here. Look how handsome.
So let's start off. Let's talk. Amy and Adam. Let's start with you two.
Okay.
So let's talk about the relationship. It's obviously gone through some ups and downs, but it does seem to be obviously on an upturn right now. Is this meant to last now, or is there trouble ahead, or what can we expect?
I think that Ben is the love of Leslie's life, for sure. And I think that this season was really great because Mike and all the writers did such a good job of exquisitely torturing us. Us who are fans of Ben and Leslie kept kind of pulling them apart and pushing them together and pulling them apart. And so it was really great this season to get to play really big comedic moments with Adam and then really small, lovely moments too. So I hope that Ben and Leslie are a team from now on.
There's always a question of when do you do that, and how soon, and Mike, talk about sort of the decision to bring them back together now. Was there a thought of, well, that tension sort of goes away, or how did you guys decide to pace this relationship out?
Well, the original idea was that Leslie would have a series of relationships with different kinds of dudes over many years, hopefully. And so, she was sort of hung up on Mark Brandanowitz for a while. She dated Louis C.K.'s character, Dave, for a while. She dated Justin Theroux for a while. And
His character.
yeah, sorry. And
The truth comes out.
so we sort of thought that might be interesting to just do a kind of series of like significant relationships at different levels with different kinds of people, and she could learn. When Greg Daniels and I were originally conceiving the show, one of the titles that we thought of for the show was The Education of Leslie Knope, and the idea was that you would follow both her career education and what she learned and how she got better at her job, and then also her personal kind of growth as a human. And so we had this idea, and then so she dated Louis' character and Justin Theroux, and then his character, and then we brought Adam Scott in, and it was just kind of like, we can't break them up, for God's sakes, look at them, like they're so good together, and his backstory fit in so perfectly with her backstory. Aww. Sweet.
Now he's a toddler.
That was really creepy.
It was weird how I held him.
Yeah, you held him.
Sometimes I pick up Adam and I just go, shh, and I put him asleep. Shut your mouth.
He is prone to weeping.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth.
Never shake Adam. Anyway, the point is like, who knows what the future holds, but as far as that thing of like, getting them together and losing the frisson of the tension or whatever, I kind of feel like that's silly and you shouldn't worry about that, and it's all about execution. And I learned this from Greg again on The Office. It was like Jim and Pam, we could have waited 9 years or whatever to get them together, and people would have been clawing their eyes out with frustration. And so we kind of just let the stories tell us when to get them together, and it seemed like, this seems like about the right amount of time. And we just kind of trusted in the creative staff that we would be able to figure out how to still make their relationship interesting after they were together.
The dynamic between the two is really interesting because we actually found a character who's more uptight than Leslie Knope. And in some ways that sort of pushes her into more of the, she's looser than ever, and at the same time she's getting him looser than ever. So
Yeah, it's been fun to play. There have been episodes where Leslie kind of goes off the rails and Ben keeps her grounded, and then other times where Ben loses his mind and Leslie kind of reminds him, about what's important. And also it's been fun to play, it was really exciting this year to play two people who were figuring out whether or not they should be together, and Ben at the same time figuring out whether or not he wants to stay in this town. I think there's something very romantic about people deciding to be in love with your own small town. And it's like, we've talked about this a lot, that there's a lot of art and television and literature about like moving to the big city, and there's something really sweet about moving to the small town.
And F those guys in Eagleton. is the other.
Yeah.
Sons of bitches.
The other thing that's interesting too is that, well, let's talk about the other relationship. So they're not here tonight, but Tom and Ann. Mm-hmm. Wow. Is that for reals? What's going on there?
Depends on what you mean
it was
by that.
cute tonight. I mean, up until now.
Well, honestly, this is where it came from. Where it came from was we had the thought of we thought about this as early as season 2, that they would make a terrible mistake and like sleep together or something. And it was always sort of in the back of our heads. And then we were looking in the middle of the year, we were looking at our landscape, and we have a lot of soulmate-y relationships. There's Leslie and Ben, there's Andy and April, and there's a lot of like true love. There's a lot of like Prince. What did you just do?
The camera just cut away to a close-up of.
Oh. By the way,
if you
this
walk
is
across-
exactly what it's like to talk to Aubrey Plaza. This is exactly. This is as much attention as this cardboard cutout is giving me right now.
Mike, it's a little creepy, but if you walk across the room, her eyes follow you. It's
Just disdain, just pouring in
Yeah.
every direction. But so anyway, the point is that we were kind of like, we should just do a comedy relationship. We should do, like, this episode tonight is a good example of the kind of relationship they have. It was like, it's very light and comedic, and the idea, we didn't do it, and Gore, you might remember this, but I feel like we didn't do it until we made sure that there was a reason. It's very clear why Tom would be interested in Anne.
right. Yeah.
It's, I would say, somewhat less clear why Anne would be interested. So we had many discussions about this.
Well, Tom's been interested in her since the pilot.
Right, yeah.
And then she had her slut phase.
Right.
And after she'd exhausted a tremendous...
We like to call it a rumspringa. we all need to have one.
After her Rumspringa, there weren't as many options left.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, Tom's lovable.
Yes. We felt like the reality of the situation, if you were Anne, would be if you live in a town with like 7,000 people and you've dated some guys who were successful relationships and some unsuccessful, and there was a guy that you knew to be kind of funny and sweet, and his bravado is kind of an act, and you knew him decently, you would try it. Just try it. You would have a drink with him, and you would see if there was anything there. And
Also,
so,
if someone feels like they're out of your league, that can be kind of hot.
Right. Yeah.
Am I right, ladies? Doing them a favor. It works.
So wrong, it's right.
Right.
Get some ass from that garbage man.
So let's talk about the other big storyline this season, and it's kind of a weird coincidence that it's Super Tuesday right now, is the whole campaign.
yes.
And so talk about that and sort of the decision this season to go full on with the campaign and Nope 2012.
Well, we had talked about this as a storyline, possible storyline for season 5. And then we were moved to a mid-season show in season 3, and we thought, all right, well, fuck it, we got to do it now. Because who knows what the future holds. So, and then once we thought about that, we realized like it would line up better with the national events, and that the kind of election fever would be in the air, and that our storyline would run for the first part of the year before everyone is completely exhausted and miserable and hates elections, which is about to, you can feel it, it's about to start happening. So we just decided to do it. It made sense, and then the Harvest Festival, an episode Dan wrote and Dean directed, happened.
Yes.
Yeah. And it just made sense, because the idea was like Leslie went out on a huge limb and she had a huge success, and it just sort of stood to reason that would catch the eye of local power brokers, and that everything kind of unfolded naturally. So we decided just why delay? We hate stasis. That's a big thing on our show, is we don't like people to be in the same place in their lives for too long. I find that boring. So it was kind of a risky move, but we kind of felt like she's an ambitious person. Leslie's a very ambitious person. She's got dreams. She said in the pilot, I think, that she wants to be the president of the United States. So that meant, city council in Pawnee would be a good first step. So we just decided to accelerate it, and it's been really fun. It made breaking stories very easy, because there's certain natural things that happen when you run for office. So.
And you guys opened it up by a couple weeks ago saying, well, it's a part-time job, so she could very well still work in the Parks and Rec department and be on city council. So
yes.
Does that mean, I mean,
What are you asking, Mike?
So will this be a cliffhanger, or do we know in the finale?
We'll find out in the finale what
do.
happens, yeah.
Oh, you are telling people that?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, good.
I know, I'm totally like, oh, we have no idea.
I will say
Shot
that
2 endings.
we
did shoot two
shot 2 endings.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
So,
Partly to hedge our bets in case we changed our minds, and partly to throw snoopers off the scent of what we were doing.
so what do you think, Amy? Does she win?
Well, I won't tell you because I know. But I will say that it was really touching and moving to do both the acceptance and concession speech as Leslie, because both, you actually find that acceptance and concession speeches are about the same until the end.
Yeah.
They thank everybody for their hard work. They realize they can't do it alone. They talk about the stuff that they can't wait to do in the future, and then they say, and congratulations to the other guy, or happy me. But doing those speeches, it was really, it was the very end of our season, and it was like the last week of our thing, and Cher was directing, and it was kind of me having to be on stage and then having to talk to the cast, which were all my friends, and telling them thank you for this election year. I couldn't do it without you, and we would never be here without the hard work of everybody. And so it was a real waterworks factory over there for old Poehler.
So,
Yeah, it was.
so now we're referring to ourselves in the third person.
Thank
Very
you,
nice.
and I'd appreciate it if you did as well.
I will. So I'll do cub reporter thing. So
Yeah, we've gotten a little chummy.
yeah, a little too much, a little too soon. I understand. So how many people know the actual ending?
It's the people on this stage and about probably a dozen more, I would say. It was kind of funny when we were shooting it. We were like, Steve Day, our assistant director, was like, okay, there's 250 extras in the room. And he was like, okay, this next scene, everyone, is Leslie has won the election, and she's going to come out and she's going to have a big victory speech. And everyone was like, oh, this is so fun. And we did that for about an hour and a half. And then he was like, okay, this scene is the same thing except she lost. And I was like, this is terrible. And I got really bummed out. And it was like Amy was saying, it was exactly the same speech except the end, essentially. So we went right down the middle, and there's no one outside of the production team really knows what happened. I don't think even Pratt knows. Do you even know?
I do not know.
He didn't know.
I was there, but I don't know.
He wasn't. He doesn't.
There's always rewrites coming in. I'm like, oh god, it probably we rewrote it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
You guys don't tell Chris a lot of things.
No, we tell him things. It's not. The fault is not on our side.
I don't need to know. Would Andy know?
No, he would
That's
not.
the real question.
Thank you. Every morning you go like, would Andy know?
What would Andy do?
What would Andy do?
W-Wad.
Yeah.
So, Greta, what's on tap for Treat Yourself 2012?
I don't know. Ask these guys. I don't know. I hope.
What
we
would
get
you
to
like
that.
to have on tap for Treat Yourself 2012? And have you incorporated it into your own life now? Because I think you should.
Oh, please. I've been treating myself for years. I do a lot of online shopping. Amazon is my friend. How do I treat myself? I like handbags.
Fine leather goods.
I have a lot of fun leather goods. And I like movies, so I buy a lot of DVDs.
You buy DVDs?
I do.
What's
'Cause
the
I
last
like having
DVD?
them.
What's the last DVD you bought?
Parks and Rec Season 3.
I didn't have to buy it. They gave it to us for free. What? What was the last that I bought? I can't even think. I don't know.
The episode where Donna and Tom Reed get really into Twilight. I don't know if you saw that. Retta is super into Twilight in real life. And when we were like working out,
It's good.
Yeah.
It's.
We were trying to figure out like things that they could read out of the book, and she was like, "Oh, read this section. This is a good section." Like she knew the book so well.
I just told them, the first one is a teeny bopper thing. The second one, she's fucking crybaby the whole time, and it's really boring. The third one's good sex. Whoa. And then the fourth one, it is just, I was beside myself. I was like, how are they gonna get through it? Who's seen Twilight? Who's read it? Am I wrong? That shit is good.
That kind of corresponds with Parks and Rec seasons, actually, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
season
We're
3 was
basing
great
all of
sex.
our seasons on.
That's true.
That's right.
So when Retta does the eyes, how is that written in the script? The eyes, you know, the eye thing. When you look at the camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have that thing. Like, can
That's
you
not
guys,
written.
can you
I
guys
bring
zoom
that.
into her eyes right now?
Please. You can't write that.
You know what's interesting though, since you bring it up, is we almost never write into the script when the characters look at the camera. Almost never. And it's very interesting to me because every character has a different relationship with the camera, and like you almost never look anymore. Very, very rarely.
Yeah.
And I think the reason is because generally speaking, looks to camera are like, oh, you caught me doing something that I didn't want you to catch. But Leslie is so uninhibited as a person and is so like lives out loud kind of that there's no reason for her to ever be ashamed of what's happening. And like when Pratt looks at the camera, the look is like, you're my best friend and we're sharing this together. You know what I mean, buddy? You know, like, and like when Tom does it, it's like, check this out. Like, you know, and like everyone does it. And when Aubrey looks at it, it's, you know, it's like this. How dumb. But like it's so interesting. But she's right. We generally speaking don't write that in at all. It's like actor's choice, and sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't. And generally speaking, they're all in such command of their instrument that they do it only when it's funny or interesting.
When Donna does it, it's like, did you see this jackass?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. You almost never do it.
No, I'm just happy when the camera's on me. But no,
Jerry.
Jerry does not. No, I really actually I did a talking head in the birthday Sweet 16 episode, and a lot of
the
people were like,
bathtub one?
he never does a talking head.
Yeah.
What is he doing? Yeah, and then I got to be in a bathtub.
Dean,
We should have cut that talking
you
head.
should have cut it. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying Jerry, doesn't do a lot of talking.
You know what would have
There
been
was
funny?
also the talking head you did in
In the
Hunting Trip.
hunting trip, yeah.
That was-
And you ran.
And I ran. Yeah.
Yeah, right on the gunshot.
A funny prank would have been to cut you entirely out of your own birthday. That would have
would've been
done
awesome.
that.
Producer's cut.
Yeah, producer's cut. The producer's cut is 9 minutes long.
Now, speaking of Jerry, in season 2, he mentioned that he had 2 years to retirement, so I'm a little concerned.
So am I. No,
He's only 6.
why don't we ignore
Jim,
that
you should
topic? There
point
are
out-
writers and show creators here. They don't need to remember what
We're
happened.
auditioning people.
Yeah.
We're looking.
Yeah.
Jim, you should point out that your character is much older than you are in real life.
Yes, let's get that out there.
Yes.
Jerry had a Sweet 16.
Jerry's 64. You are
49 when it was written, just turned 50.
okay. So you're 50.
Yeah.
So
But I look amazing for 64.
Yeah.
I look like shit for 50. But for 64,
the best thing in that whole episode is we were laughing on set that we've made Jim 15 or 14 years older than he really is. And then in the scene where Leslie's planning the party, she says, yeah, Jerry's turning 64 this year, and Pratt improvises, he's only 64. And then we left it in the cut. So mean, so unnecessarily mean.
yeah.
We did a
Best
similar
conference room
thing.
scene ever.
We had a writer on staff who was in one of our shows. And
Yeah.
we put in the script, he's really like 32. His name's Harris Whittles. And we put in that he was like, 36 or something.
Yeah.
He was furious.
So angry.
Remember that name, America.
Yeah, but they jumped me 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Well,
And I had to be, I'm about 25 pounds overweight. And so and except something funny right up.
Jim, I gotta tell you.
Give or take
No,
64 years.
Jim, I got no sympathy for it. It happens all the time. I played Rachel McAdams' mother.
Yeah.
I was 7 years older than I played her mother. I don't want to hear it. I'm on
Television adds 140 pounds. Everybody knows that. No, and I'm also a very hairy person. And I said to Amy, we were in the makeup trailer, and I'm like, Amy, you're going to see some things.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good.
And I said, it's nothing I haven't seen in my dreams.
Exactly. And it's been very interesting ever since.
Yes. Right.
So Jim, I'm disturbed that we now know too much about you.
Way
I'm
too
sorry.
much. I know.
But
Huge penis, though.
Oh my God.
That's based on fact.
not bad for a 64-year-old.
Not bad.
Should have started with that.
So let's talk about a couple of characters who aren't here tonight. So Ron, first off, are we going to see the Tammys anytime soon?
Well, we should point out Ron. We didn't have a cutout for Ron because we think that Ron may still make an appearance.
Nick is shooting a movie in Burbank, and he's going to try to race here. It's doubtful that he'll make it, but he's trying his damnedest.
If anyone will make it, it is Nick.
Yeah, that's true.
He actually whittles his car, right?
Yeah.
So are we going to see the Tammys again, 0, 1, and 2, or?
I believe that we've seen the last of the Tammys for this year, sadly. But the real joy of I mean, it's Paula Pell plays his mom, who Amy and I both worked with at SNL, and who's one of the greatest living humans. And then Patricia Clarkson and Megan Mullally are out there too. And so we've created this situation where at any moment any of those three actresses can pop in and just ruin his life for a day, and it's very tempting. The rule of thumb has been 1 episode a year because they tend to just blow up the world so much that we don't want to overplay that card. But they're all so good, and I think it's safe to say that in the future they'll be back at some point.
And we should talk about Mr. Chris Pratt here. So this relationship. This has turned into quite a sweet, sort of project. I mean, the road trip that they took, and the whole process of them getting married. Talk about sort of how that relationship has evolved. How Andy kind of hit rock bottom, and now he's kind of on his way back up. He's got a job now. He just kind of got a pass grade on his women's. You feel like Andy's sort of on an upswing now?
Yeah, definitely. I think that Andy's he's learned a lot. And that's actually one nice thing that I don't think happens in a lot of TV shows, and this is a credit to Mike and the writers, is like when one of the characters in this world, which is, kind of almost a real world, Pawnee, there are rules that when established, the writers, they'll follow them. So if there's a lesson that a character learns, then in the future, they don't have to relearn that lesson. It's something that they carry with them, and it's, Andy's not getting smarter, but he's actually maybe getting dumber, but he's learning, and the things that he's growing as a person. That's pretty nice.
I do fear. I mean, he gets injured more than anyone else on the show. I mean, will Andy die? I'm worried for you, Chris.
Oh God.
Well, Pratt will tell you, he's like you are a stuntman at heart.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a stuntman. And my brother and I both were going to be a stuntman team, and we would throw each other down the stairs to practice, and never get injured. We would just like fall out of trees and hit each other with the car, or fall off a bike, or do like cool stunts. And so like the fact that I get to do some stunts, I shouldn't say that I do all my stunts. I have Joe Baccaro is an excellent stuntman, and we have a great stunt crew that works really hard on our show. But when they write something physical and like a physical comedy bit, I'll usually try 1 or 2 on my own to do, and that's really fun.
That's always the rule, is allow Chris to do it a couple times before the stuntman does.
Yeah.
We did an episode campaign ad where Chris runs into a ambulance.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me and he's like, dude, I can't do it, man. I can't do it today. And I'm like, all right, great. We've got stuntman here. Don't worry about it. Action. And he goes run, and full force slams right into that thing, falls right to the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, great. We don't have it. Let's have the stuntman do it again. He's like, all right, I'll run this time again, and I'll stop. And then ran even harder the second time. And I don't know how much pain you were in after that, but it was. But we used.
I didn't
I
feel
think
it.
besides the motorcycle, we used you for just
Yeah.
about everything.
We've also
Maybe more through
gotten
the glass.
We've also
Yeah.
gotten super lazy about it. Like Gore wrote an episode where in the season finale where he literally wrote into the script, Chris does something physical.
It was like, there was no glow to the scene. I was like, Chris does some shit. And I was like, and he did. It was,
And then he just like jumped. It was little Sebastian, right?
it was Little Sebastian. He jumped over the
the
front
counter, yeah.
desk.
On rollerblades, jumped over and then like landed on his head.
That was the. Yeah.
That's the respect that you showed. Pratt.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So another question that you guys probably get all the time: have we seen the last of Jean-Ralphio, or when?
Yes.
Well, we have not finished editing all the episodes, but we have certainly shot a scene with Jean-Ralphio for this season. So I don't know if it'll make it in the cut, but we did shoot Jean-Ralphio did come. I mean, Ben Schwartz, who plays Jean-Ralphio, is on that show House of Lies on Showtime, and he's also doing movies and stuff. So he is a busy person. But we got a crowbar and just wedged him into an episode. So
Yeah.
I don't know whether it'll end up making the final cut.
And his hair is amazing.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
How does he do that?
Ben Schwartz just sent me a picture and he was like, represent Nope, any trailer I'm in. And it was on the House of Lies and he just had a Nope sweatshirt and just sent me a picture.
Entertainment 720, still at
The
work.
best.
So the other through line this season, we kind of mentioned how Andy sort of hit rock bottom and is kind of on the way up. But a number of characters, thinking of Rob Lowe and Chris and how he seems to be at the bottom right now. And Ben kind of hit the bottom earlier this season. What is it this season about the characters and sort of, is this a redemption year? Are they all kind of coming together as a family? What's...
I don't
with
know.
that, right?
Is it too deep?
By design.
Am I going too far?
Well, it's been fun. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No,
Gord.
no.
No,
Well,
please.
one of the ideas that Mike had early on was that Leslie would be there for every single one of the characters, and then at the end, they would all be there for her. So I think there was an element of that, at least. I mean, in some ways, we may have gotten away from that, but I think that is sprinkled in there.
Yeah, the first half of the year, the design of the year was the first half of the year is that Leslie helps her friends. I mean, she's helped them a million times, but we wanted to really show her doing specific things for specific people so that when we got to the Christmas episode and they all decided to do this incredibly selfless thing for her, you would really remember why. The waterworks are going to start in a second.
Forget it.
Yeah. But so that's why, like, when Entertainment 720 went down, and even though Tom was ruining Leslie's Chamber of Commerce thing, she still, when she found out that her friend was in trouble, it was like, all right, put this aside, like, let's deal with Tom and help Tom. And she's been helping April try to become a better person. She's always helping Andy. She helped Ron escape the clutches of Patricia Clarkson, and that was the idea, was to try to, in the first 10 episodes, to really show like the specific ways that she is there for her friends, so that when we pulled our It's a Wonderful Life moment and they all reciprocated, and Ron has that line, this is where she's gonna start crying in like 10 seconds. When Ron has that line where he says, name one person here who you haven't put your life on hold for to help us, we wanted that to be fresh in people's minds, that she is constantly doing these heroic things for her friends. You all right? Everything all right?
Yeah, when I do scenes like that, I can't look at Nick. He's the one that gets me going because he has giant, crazy eyes like I do. Big blue googles that are mostly eyeball. And he just looks at me like, and we're all like, woo! And yeah, anytime Ron Swanson says like, anything else you don't need.
And the mustache actually talks to you, right?
And with Ben's rock bottom, there may have been a little tail wagging the dog. We were really into his calzone infatuation.
Yeah.
And so we did anything we could to get him into a situation where he would say the low calzone zone.
That was really where we started the whole season. It was
Yeah,
like, we're going to work around that. We know
It was
he's
the
gonna
one
say
card
that.
on the wall, low calzone zone. And from there, it was all.
My favorite thing about that scene is still when he's telling Chris, Rob Lowe, that he's like, get this, I'm gonna use low-fat ingredients, and Rob Lowe goes, game changer. So funny. I think he improv that. It's like, and then he says, that idea is literally the greatest idea I've ever heard in my entire life, and it smash cuts to a talking head. He goes, that idea is terrible. We talked about his Lowe Calzone's own restaurant for like weeks.
We had a retreat before the season started where that was the only idea that came out.
That's not an exaggeration.
Those were rough times in the writers' room.
Oh, they were great times. Please.
So what else? Oh, let's talk about Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
When do we see him next?
Yeah. Amy Poehler, who plays Leslie Knope, she's right there.
Familiar with her work?
She wrote and directed episode 20 this season.
And starred in. And
Episode
starred.
420.
Yeah. It's actually a sad story that Leslie gets arrested for marijuana. And
That's a game changer.
it's a game changer.
Game changer.
No, she wrote and directed it, and it's the big city council debate with Bobby Newport and Leslie, and Paul is in it, and he's so goddamn funny. I don't think this has been announced yet. We can announce it special for the live streaming home audience. There are 3 other candidates in the race. There's Brandy Max, the adult porn star, adult film star. She's in it. There's a guy named Enrico Della Rosa who is an animal lover, and he's a single issue voter, which is just animal rights. He thinks that rats are as important as people, and if you harm a rat, you should go to prison for the rest of your life. And then there's another man named Fester Trim, who is a single issue gun advocate, and playing the role of Fester Trim is none other than the great Buddy Garrity from Friday Night Lights. Yeah. We got Buddy Garrity. I mean, that's his character's name. Yeah, and he is insanely funny. He's so great.
Well, that was a good time to talk about it. I mean, you guys have had a lot of great guest stars this season.
Yeah.
And last week you had Carl Reiner. You've got who else coming up?
Louis C.K.,
Louis
Patricia
C.K., of
Clarkson,
course.
Sean Hayes.
Yeah, Sean
Paul
Hayes. How about Sean
Rudd.
Hayes in this episode?
Yeah, Catherine Hahn.
Catherine Hahn.
Bradley Whitford coming
Bradley
up.
Whitford.
Michael
So-
Malley's coming.
Oh yeah, Mike O'Malley just did an episode.
Mike O'Malley
too. It was
just
so
came
funny.
in. Yeah.
What does he do?
He plays in the second to last episode of the year. He plays a guy who owns a crummy van rental place, and the Knope campaign has rented all of his vans to shuttle people to the polls. And at the last second, the Newport campaign comes in and says, they offer him like 20 grand or something to just take the vans and just park them somewhere so that Leslie's campaign can't get seniors to the polls. And Tom and Donna and Ron are dispatched to his van rental place to try to make him honor his contract. And he's just not that interested. He's more interested in the money that the other side is giving him. It's an excellent Donna episode, I have to say.
Strong arm that.
Yeah. Donna kind of steps up in a way we won't talk about, right, people?
Yeah.
But
Mumble.
Donna makes kind of a kick-ass
But I make
move.
it happen.
Yeah.
I sense nude scene.
A little bit.
Now see, we're getting a little too close again.
Yeah.
So Ms. Poehler,
Yes, thank you.
going back, we kind of jumped over the fact that you wrote, directed, and obviously star in this 420 episode. So talk about that and sort of being the triple threat.
Oh, well, Dean Holland and I directed that episode, and what was, it was really exciting and a huge opportunity for me. I'm very grateful for it, and it was like a dream come true. Like every moment on this show is for me, genuinely, to be able to work with these actors in a different way. But it was awesome. Our show, I cannot stress it enough, and maybe this is annoying for people to hear, but it's such a true collaboration, and it's filled with such talented people. Every writer is the funniest performer and writer I know. Every performer is the best dramatic actor I know. Every producer is the best producer in television. And I know I sound like I'm being hyperbolic, but I'm not. So the chance to step into that and get to do something different like that was really awesome. And it was, and to do, we had a really big show with a lot of cameras and extras. And when Louis C.K. was on the show, I kind of asked him his advice on how do you direct yourself. And I don't remember what he said, so. Anyway.
No pressure, but he also edits his episodes.
Yes, he does.
so
Yes, he does. So, no.
For the rest of the cast, what was it like to have Amy behind the camera?
It was great.
Awesome.
It was great. One thing that's really nice and necessary, I think, when you're doing like a collaborative show that's a comedy, is laughter. And Amy's really giving with her laughter, and she's got this laugh that is infectious.
Yeah, it is.
And one thing you need feedback, you know? And in comedy, it's pretty easy to understand what your feedback is. If they laugh, it was funny. And if they don't, you need to keep doing it until they laugh, you know? And so, like, you know, drama, it would probably be different. Like, everyone is silent. Even if you're terrific, and you're like, did I suck? Like, I don't know. But with what we do, like, there's a lot of laughter on set. And a lot of that comes from Amy, so like you would just hear her laugh from back behind the monitor. You're like, yes! You know, you kind of like, you made mama proud, you know? It was like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
One of the funny, I remember when we first shot in Andy and April's apartment, and Amy came in, and you know, she set up the scene, and she's like, all right, let's go. And usually, our first AD says, set, action. And Chris was like, can you say it once? Can you please say action?
Like, Amy, come on, say action.
So Amy walks up to Steve Day, our first AD, was like, I'm gonna say action on this one. Right? So she goes outside, she's like, action! And Chris is like, and then we do the scene, she's like, all right, we're done with that. Steve's got this.
I will say that Retta has a great quality. She can cry on cue.
Whoa.
Giant tears.
Amazing.
All right, Retta, right now.
You're gonna see it. You are
Bring it
start
hope,
right
I
now.
No, and I was very impressed, and I was like, oh, that's why I get why directors are like, oh yeah, just keep crying. Keep crying. Like it was, she was really, whatever, dumb story.
No, not dumb. It was really impressive. That was.
You guys seem.
Offerman can kind of do that too. Offerman can get himself to like super worked up to the point where there are tears like streaming down his face. To me,
And fart, dude. He farts all the time on set.
that's kind of less impressive talent, I would say.
I was impressed.
See, if you were here, then we could demonstrate. Now, so, speaking of stories, so Amy, there's this whole sort of mysterious, fake, secret spin-off, not spin-off, but sort of, let's talk about Philly Justice.
Okay.
Now, for the people in the crowd who haven't heard of Philly Justice.
And that means everyone.
What,
We have a picture, I think. Do we
we?
have? Yeah.
You guys wanna
maybe
put it
if
up
you
there?
guys, if you can cue it up there. It is. This was a pilot that was made in 2003 with these five excellent actors.
Adam was going through some old. Adam loves to scrapbook his.
Yeah.
Adam's a real big scrapbooker.
Yeah.
And he loves to like put his achievements in a scrapbook.
Right.
And he came across that picture. It was a pilot we did in 2003, and what was weird about it
Yeah.
was that Rudd didn't really connect with the producers, and he was replaced after the pilot
Yeah.
with
But Dylan McDermott.
Dylan McDermott.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't,
Didn't
he?
And then Dylan McDermott was replaced by Dermot Mulroney. Actually, what this is they were on set,
Yeah.
and they had someone take that picture, and they decided to pretend that they were all in a show called Philly Justice about Philadelphia lawyers. Isn't that the most realistic looking like promo shot for?
I would watch that show.
Wouldn't you watch that show?
I'd watch the hell out of that show.
But they took this
Look at
picture.
Adam's character. We all gave ourselves characters. His name is Nick Bellows, and he would want me to tell you that Nick Bellows, he's still reeling from 9/11. It's 2000.
Because remember, this took place in 2003.
2003. He's reeling, and his character went to Iraq, and I was like, as a lawyer? He went as a lawyer, and he's a real loose cannon. So you never know what he's turned the other way. I mean, look at him.
And Rashida.
Right. Rashida plays Joey Suarez. Joanna Suarez, we call her Joey. She's really connected with them. She's fiery. She likes to try to stop gang violence. Halfway through the series, she's testing a little angry.
Oh no.
So the producers pull her back, they put on some crazy glasses, and she's a little sweeter.
It's difficult to explain to you how intricate this bit has gotten.
Not really.
Just as this has been now going on for weeks. This picture was shot like 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago. They got these actors, these 5 people, got so into this idea that they had been in the fake show together, that Paul Rudd had been replaced by Dylan McDermott, that Adam Scott created a fake email address for Dylan McDermott and started emailing everybody about how excited he was to be in the show. Then Adam would log out of his Dylan McDermott account and log back in as his Adam Scott account and email back to Dylan McDermott himself. Like, hey man, I'm excited too, this is great. Log out of Adam Scott back in. Like, he was writing messages to himself for a long time. And they all have character backstories. And the funniest thing is Rudd has been on stage, he's been on the set for the last 3 weeks shooting our last 3 episodes. And they've been like teasing him mercilessly about the fact that he was replaced in this fake thing that never happened.
Paul has been sending us stills from the play he's doing You Can't Take It With You.
Oh yeah. Paul Rudd from 2003 is doing a play version of You Can't Take It With You at some crummy theater in the North Valley. His bit is that he's like, hey, no hard feelings, guys, but he's clearly just devastated. And
I will say that it's a real promising show. It's on after Joan of Arcadia. And what's exciting is that they've already got 22.
That's great.
They got a 22-episode pickup.
And they just recently had to change. Should I even tell this?
Sure, yeah, why not?
They recently had to change. They had to reshoot some of the pilot because Elizabeth Smart was found.
It happens.
And they do a lot of rip from the headline stuff. You know, they rip from the headlines, and so they had to quickly change.
The episode's better, though.
It's better. I do hear Moonves wanted you as a brunette, though.
Yeah, well, my character, Holly McIntyre, develops an eating disorder.
You don't understand how intricate. It's so intricate. It's the most, when this news of this first arrived to me, I was like, they're not working hard enough. These people, we need to write more scenes or something.
I can guarantee you the cast of Rob is not doing this right.
Well, I don't know, they may be, who knows?
They could be.
Let's not slam another show.
Exactly, solidarity. So we mentioned some of the characters and what's going on with them, and we talked about Chris, but we didn't really talk about sort of what's going to happen to Rob Lowe and sort of is he digging himself out of this funk? I mean, he's kind of at the lowest right now.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the character is that he's a crazy spiraler. You know, like when he had a tendonitis or whatever it was in his shoulder tendonitis,
yeah.
And then he went instantly to like, I'm gonna die. Like it goes from shoulder tendonitis, I'm gonna die in like 10 seconds. So we kind of devised this thing where he's Rob Lowe. He's like a perfect human being, right? So the challenge from the writing standpoint is to try to figure out like, look at him. God, that looks really real.
It really does.
What if somehow he suddenly was there?
He started talking.
Aren't you required to say literally?
Yeah, exactly.
The realist character?
Literally there. But the challenge in the writer's room is to give him like Achilles' heels because he's very impressive as a human being. And so we kind of devised this season where he has this relationship with Jerry's daughter, Millicent, played by the great Sarah Wright, which was really good. And then she is kind of younger than he is, and so she breaks up with him, and that makes him sad. And then Tom and Ann insanely get together, and that makes him kind of sad. And so we've been chipping it away at him, and the last kind of 4 episodes of the season are about him actually hitting bottom, I would say, and then figuring out what it is that he wants to do with his life to get him out of that rut.
There's a funny pitch that at some point in the distant future, Andy's character will be the mayor of the town.
Yeah.
And that Rob Lowe's character will be like an obese homeless man. So at some point they cross.
Yeah. Like a Theodore Dreiser novel or something.
When we shot the Valentine episode for this year, we were there late one night and we had to be dancing and stuff, and the room gets hot because there's like 200 extras and it's all crazy. So at some point Rob takes off his shirt. I said, we are not of the same species. Because he's like only 2 years younger than me, man. I don't understand it.
But
But Jim, larger penis.
Larger
Yes.
penis.
Bringing you back.
Stop it.
So how many of you guys bought the Pawn ebook? How many of you have the book?
Yeah, nice.
There it is down there. So the book is thorough. Do you guys have to reference it just for continuity's sake, or is it truly the Bible now for the show, or how does that kind of correlate
Pretty
with the
biblical.
Yeah.
show?
It's brought up a lot, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, in Amy's episode, there's a problem. Andy and April have a problem with their cable. They don't, because guess who didn't pay the cable bill? And we were like, wait, we know what the cable company in town is called. It's called Cable-tastic with an exclamation point, and it's in the book. And so the art department uses it a lot to reference it is very much like a Bible, yeah.
We should point out the art department on our show. It is like the best.
Yeah.
Everything in our office, in the Parks department, every paper, everything is real. So every list we have is like always filled with jokes. Every drawer you open is filled with real stuff. They do an amazing job of creating this world.
The
And
newspapers have
Yeah.
every
articles.
newspaper has every.
I get most of my news from those. They're all made up.
And it is great. I mean, this is an LA crowd, so I mean, I don't know about you guys. When I watch it, I love seeing sort of LA spots or valley spots that you've transformed into Pawnee.
Sure. Well, the craziest thing is that, like, in this day and age of HD television and DVRs, you can't fake this stuff. Like, when we did Leslie's campaign ad, and we had the scroll of things that she says she's pro.
Right.
The original, I feel like the original one it had like 30 of them, and it just repeated them over and over again. And it was like, shit, man, we can't do that. Like,
Right.
people are gonna stop
We
it.
wanted it
And
to
they
go
did.
fast.
Yeah, we made it go faster, but you could still make them out. And so we sat down and we wrote a list of 130 things that Leslie's in favor of, because we knew that like people are gonna read it. And then, I mean, the fun part of it is, I mean, it's all fun, but the excellent part of that specific task is that it's fun to come up with things that Leslie is in favor of. So it's like a team joke writing exercise. And then, like, within, like 45 minutes of that episode airing, a complete list of everything that she is in favor of is on the internet. So
Yeah.
it's like a good reminder that, like, you gotta, people are paying attention. You gotta make it worth their while.
And the internet has been, and the fans have been so cool to our show on the internet.
Yeah.
They've created these worlds and videos and stuff, and it just, I don't know, there's something about our show and the internet fan base that works really well together, and we've always been very grateful for that.
Because our fans are smart. Give yourselves a big hand for being fucking awesome.
And now let's hear a little bit from the smart fans. It is time for the Q&A portion of this. So I just ask you, when we pick you, to stand up so that you can, I forgot to warn you guys about that.
If anyone has any questions for any of the cutouts, we'll answer for
Yeah.
If you want to hug one of the cutouts, that's also welcome. So just please stand up when I call on you. So raise your hand and let's get some questions going. Right there, guy in the front with the glasses. Hold on.
I actually work in Parks and Recreation.
Nice.
And you guys have ruined me by asking, like, what character are you? Who are you act? I'm
But
more
what
like a
character are you and who are
Ron/Tom.
You're Ron/Tom?
Yeah, I don't really care too much, but then I like to have fun, but yeah, so thank you for that.
All right, another question. Sir, right here, way up in the front.
You guys have so many wonderful characters and so many ongoing threads. Can you talk a little bit about the difficulties of breaking an episode with so many characters?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's a pain in the ass. Our general rule of thumb is everyone is in every episode, and we try to stick to that. It's very fun to come up with different combinations of people. Like, there's obviously always gonna be a lot of Andy April episodes, but like the episode we were talking about earlier, the second to last one the B story is Ron, Tom, and Donna, which I think is that's the first time that's ever happened, right? I mean, there's 10.
Yeah, I've been with Tom. I haven't been with.
Yeah, right. There's a Tom April story coming up. It's fun to like mix and match, and that often kind of sparks ideas when you say, we've never had these three people have to do anything at once. There's a lot of Ron and Chris episodes coming up, which is really fun to have Nick Offerman and Rob Lowe in the same place. So,
I mean, and they also don't all work in the same department. They're not in one family.
right.
So we've given ourselves a lot of challenges.
Yeah, but it's fun. I mean, it's 10 great actors, and if you have 10 great actors, you should just shut up and stop complaining, so that's what I'm gonna do.
All right, let's get a question over this way, in the green, right over there.
When Brad Whitford makes his appearance, do you guys make like West Wing references? Like, do you have a walk and talk?
Yes.
Oh, we sure do.
We
Yes.
have a walk and talk.
Yeah.
Great question.
It was personally speaking, a huge like dream of mine. I'm the biggest West Wing fan in the world, and a lot of other people on the staff are as well. And there are many little, very, very tiny West Wing references in it. My favorite one though we didn't design. It's just at some point Leslie asked him a question and he goes, "Okay," you know that way that he used to do that. And I don't know if he did it intentionally or not, or whether he was just being a character, but it was like, oh my God, it's Josh Lyman. It's so cool. Yeah, there's the very first scene in the show is a West Wing style walk and talk. So it's our little tribute to that great show.
Exactly. Sorkin's taken 10% of that.
Yeah, Tommy Schlamme directed it.
Exactly. Okay, question maybe over there, right there, miss.
Hi, how often do you guys like improv your lines and like how much of it ends up in the episode?
Not a lot of it. Most of the stuff that gets in the episode was the well-written jokes from the writers. We get a chance sometimes when we kind of feel like we get the script to play around, and sometimes that makes it in. Sometimes the like jump cut stuff where it's like a talking head and we're doing different things, that can sometimes be improvised. But for the most part, the feeling of getting to play around and improvise is really pervasive on our set. But at the end of the day, we usually have the written jokes end up in the script. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, but I would also say that every person in the cast has had improvised material in the show.
I had my first one, I think.
Which one?
In your episode, right?
Yeah, the Do I Look Like I Drink Water?
Oh, yeah. Violated it.
Some of the absolute best lines were improvised.
In my opinion, I think I said this at Paley Center Festival last year, but it bears repeating. The funniest thing that's ever happened, the funniest line ever spoken on our show is improvised by Chris Pratt, which is when Leslie has the flu, and she's being let out, and he's just at the computer, he's filling in at Ron's desk, and he says, "Leslie, I typed your symptoms into this thing up here, and it says you could have network connectivity problems." Improvised line. And I'm not kidding. As a writer, it made me furious. I'm still really upset and angry. He did it once. The camera happened to be on him. He did it once, and I think it's the funniest joke that's ever been on our show. It's my favorite joke.
He just improvised the line for you, for your episode. Remember, when you're talking head, and he said something, and we're like, fuck.
Yeah, he gave it to me.
Yes.
It was a really good one. Leslie was talking about what a good debater she was, and Pratt gave me the joke. And Leslie was like, "I was a master debater," and I used to call myself a master debater, and everyone would point at me and laugh because I was so good at it. Remember that?
Pratt, are you gonna write an episode?
Am I gonna write an episode? Yeah. No.
Just take the glory of the improv.
I couldn't do it. No. Maybe one day. Maybe if we go like 10 seasons and they're like, they're really scraping bottom. They're like, oh God, it's okay.
Another one of my favorites.
I don't think I could.
When you said it was during another episode you wrote, the telethon, and April says something really smart ass to you, and you go, douche. That was one of my favorite lines. I don't know if that made it in there.
I don't think it did.
Every once in a while, you can we get. What's nice is because of the format, because we have shoulder-mounted cameras. There's no setups. It's not like shooting a drama or something where you got laying dolly track and it's making these beautiful shots. It's like three people. It's like you're shooting a documentary, so you're living these real scenes like you would on a stage in an improv theater, and you're doing each scene so many times and capturing it really 15, 20, 30 times. That's unheard of, you know? And you get that many takes, not only on just one side of coverage, but the whole thing is being covered that many times. And so eventually it just takes its own life. And, you know, it takes its own sort of like shape, and you move past you've caught the joke 4 or 5 times the way it's written, and it works, it's great. Hopefully one of those takes will work, but they're still trying to get something else. And in the meantime, you come up with something and you say it, you know, and maybe maybe it makes the episode. It's like kind of a testament to the format, I think. Just like it's multi-cameras. It's a single camera, technically a single camera show, but having several cameras makes it easy to add something in. You know, you're not wasting like $1,000 worth of film if you say something that's not scripted. You know what I mean?
And it's a super safe environment. You're not nervous trying anything because, I mean, improv, there's success and failure, and it doesn't matter. It's just such a warm set. Anyone who's worked on our show will tell you it's the best set in town. And so you can try stuff and not be worried, oh, what's everyone thinking? Doesn't matter.
Get a question from over this side this time. Any hands up? Right over there.
Hi, this is for Amy Poehler.
Hey.
What is your favorite moment that happened behind the scenes?
Behind the scenes.
You can reenact it with one of these cutouts.
Of this show or Philly Justice.
Yeah.
I did not have a lot of good behind the scenes in Philly Justice.
Gone too soon.
So many. I don't even know if I could choose. So many just small moments. You know, when you work 14 hours a day with people, you really get to know them. You get to kind of know their character and who they are, and you just live their lives with them. So just the small moments really are the best. Not like, you know, we had big, you know, we've all partied together pretty hard. And had those kind of moments, but just the small everyday moments are the ones that I kind of treasure. And but I probably should think of something good.
I will say that she is a terrific DJ, and sometimes in the morning, wake up.
Yeah, we have dance parties. We have
makeup
dance
trailer
parties
dance
at our
parties.
makeup trailer after lunch. And that's pretty good. That's fun.
I have goosebumps
Sometimes,
right now.
like we'll play music after lunch, and we all dance in the trailer. And sometimes we'll shut the doors and make it like a hot house. And like the other day, Chelsea and Aisha and Katie, like the writers were walking by, and we were like, "What's up?" And they came in, and it was like 18 people in the trailer. And then we were like 2 hours late to set because we had to redo all.
Is that why you were late?
When?
During I was directing, and Morgan, our producer Morgan, was like, well, I don't know what's going on, but they're all late. I was like, I saw they were in the trailer. He's like, yeah, I don't know, there's some kind of delay. It was a dance party? You crazy kids.
It might have been.
I will say this,
Amy
by the
P
way.
on the wheels of steel.
The TV shows are, the mood at a show is set from the person who's number 1 on the call sheet, which in our case is Amy Poehler. And that is why our set is the happiest place on earth, and that's not a joke, it really is. And yeah. And we, you know, it's a ridiculously fun job to make a TV show that you like, and we have a great time doing it, but it's also, you work 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours a day, and it can get kind of exhausting. But we get into directing an episode, and at the end of a very, very long day on location, we got into the van to take us back to our cars. We're kind of bleary-eyed. It's like 1 in the morning. And Amy just gets in the front seat, and she turns the radio on, and she finds an awesome song, and she turns it up really loud, and she starts dancing, and like getting everyone in it. And it's like, it's just that from the moment she shows up to the moment she gets home.
Sounds exhausting, doesn't it?
It's not. It's awesome. It's a huge reason why our job is so fun. So thank you, Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
You, Michael.
We got a couple questions over here. Why don't we get the man in the blue shirt right over there?
Sorry if I'm off topic, but Amy, is there a chance you're going to come back for the Arrested Development relaunch?
Yeah, I would do anything. I mean, I'm such a fan of that show, like all of you. Mitch Hurwitz is amazing, and I know that they're doing a bunch of shows before the movie, so I mean, get coffee for them, I'll do whatever they want me to do.
Have they called you yet, or?
No, they haven't gotten to that stage yet, but they're working on the getting, they're doing shows on Netflix before they do the movie, which is really smart. So they're going to kind of remind everybody of the characters. I think everybody's going to have their own episode, and I'm sure it will be awesome. And I know Will, my husband's really excited about it. So yeah, and I'm sure that Arrested's done. Oh well, they did that reunion thing, right? Last year at the Paley Center. Or New York, I don't know, New York.
We'll say yes.
I don't keep up.
Okay, the gentleman over here in the jacket.
Hi. First, Amy, I think I'm one of the only people who saw Spring Breakdown. And it's amazing, and I own it, and I keep showing it to people. And second, this is mainly for Chris or whatever, but when is Anna...
Whatever.
Or one of the cutouts, either Chris or one of the cutouts.
When is Anna Faris going to be on the show?
Yeah.
Man. I will, if they give us another season, I think it's gonna happen. If they give us another season, I'm gonna say it right now, if we get one more season, my darling wife is gonna come and play and be hilarious, and I think that's, so give us another season, NBC. I promise you, my wife.
All right, NBC, it's in your court now.
Thank you for that question.
We have time for one more question right over here.
Yeah, Bonnie Rager.
I'm a big dork.
You're awesome. You're
Did
awesome.
you make that?
Yes, I did. My husband is also a Pawnee Ranger.
Stand up, stand up.
You got a lot of time in your hands.
I did this.
I love it.
Chris mentioned this. What's the word on season 5? Do you know anything yet?
No, usually these kinds of decisions are made in April or May, so it's a weird aspect of the TV season that you kind of have to just sit on your hands for a month or two. But we're cautiously optimistic, I would say, right?
Yeah, and we've had such a cool and interesting journey on the show, right? We shot our first season, which was 6 episodes all at once. And then we had this big long season, and then we kind of were put on hiatus. And so we've always been used to this, take it day by day kind of attitude. The only thing, as Shura has said before, is the only thing we could kind of control was the actual content of the show. So we just kind of stick to doing that, and the rest. But we really hope and that we're going to be able to do 10 seasons. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude, 10.
Here we go. The gauntlet has been 10 seasons.
10.
Now, unfortunately, we're going to say farewell to our streaming viewers. So bye, streamers.
Bye, streamers.
Thanks, everybody, for streaming.
Cast and producers of Parks and Recreation.